Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I have just finished week 13 of my Read What You Own Platinum Challenge, where I've challenged myself to read 100 books that I already own before buying another book. This challenge will eventually morph into the 500 book challenge. And I read a lot of books this week, so let me get through them quickly, if possible. The first book that I read was The Prisoner of Zenda by Anthony Hope. This was on my Kindle, and I read it as part of a reading group, Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, run by Michael K. Vaughan. And this is an adventure novel written in 1894. It is what would nowadays be the equivalent of a cheap movie, but it was fun. It follows the adventures of an Englishman named Rudolph, and he is visiting a small European country, one that doesn't exist, Ruritania, and he discovers that he is a dead ringer for the would-be king. The king is being crowned the next day that he meets him, and they get drunk in a pub or an inn, and in the morning that king is out like a light. So what happens? The king's servant, his friend, says to Rudolph, "Why don't you take the king's place for the coronation? And then we'll come back in the evening, and the king will have slept off his drunk." Or was he drugged? There's some doubt. And the Englishman goes, "Okay, I'll do that." And things don't go according to plan. This was a fun adventure novel. Not a whole lot of substance, but there's sword fighting, there's romantic interplay, and I enjoyed it. And I can recommend it if you like adventure stories. The next book I finished was also for a booktube book group. This is Criminale's Birth Year book group. This is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is known as one of the best horror novels written, or gothic horror novels. And it is a very interesting horror novel. The horror is very subdued. There are 4 characters. There's Evelyn. She's sort of a woman who took care of her mother, and when her mother dies, she's sort of lost and aimless. She's living with her sister, and she answers an ad to go investigate a haunted house. And then there are 3 other people there. There is Theodora, another woman who, no, I won't tell you about Theodora. You'll have to read the book to find out. Theodora might have a secret. And then there's Dr. Montague. And then there is a representative of the family that owns this haunted house. And what happens in this house? Is it ghosts? Is it psychic ability that Evelyn has? It's very subdued. The reader is not sure what is going on. And I think a lot of people dislike the book for that reason. I, for one, like it when the author, the reader does not know exactly what is going on in the story. And it is intentional. It is not because the author is messing up and forgetting things. The author is deliberately leading you down a path where things are unknown. And I like that. This is a very good book. This is the second time that I read it. It may even be the 3rd time that I read it. I don't know. I think I read it early 80s and then listened to the audiobook in the 2000s. But it's good. I can highly recommend it. After that, there was an audiobook. Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power by John Meacham. This is my project to read a biography about every president of the United States. And this is a fairly decent biography. It is the second biography of Jefferson that I read. The last one that I read was In Pursuit of Reason. I believe the author was Noble Cunningham, not positive. I didn't do any research before making this video. And I like that one a bit more, but that was a much older biography. And some of the data was a bit stale by today's standards. In that older biography, Thomas Jefferson did not father children with Sally Hemings. In the new one, yeah, the author admits that Jefferson did have a relationship with his slave and fathered children by her, and kept his children enslaved, which is really bizarre. It's a conflict within the man. It's a conundrum. And that's an interesting thing, that Jefferson could have these lofty ideals about freedom, yet enslave his own children. It makes him a fascinating character. It may not make him a good man, but he was a great man nonetheless. And that's what I like about these biographies. You get to learn about people who are complicated. So it's a biography that I can recommend. After that, I dove deep into GrabAugust 1.5. It was originally scheduled to just be a weekend, but I started on Thursday just because I wanted to get a head start. And I finished 5 books for GrabAugust 1.5. Let me go through them. Never Die Alone by Donald Goines. He was an African-American crime writer, and apparently a very successful one, or a very popular one. And this one, it starts off a little bit strange. It starts off with a down on his luck Jewish writer going for a job interview with a newspaper. And it turns out that this newspaper is basically a white supremacist rag. And this book was written in 1974. And I said, I guess they still had the white supremacist rags back then. And the Jewish man says, nope, no, thank you, I'm not gonna do that. And so he's flat broke, and he takes what little he has, so I guess he's not totally flat broke, but he gets drunk. And coming out of the bar, he sees an assault going on. There's a black man in an expensive car, and he's getting repeatedly stabbed by other black men. And the other black men run away, and he looks down at this man who's dying. And the man does not want to die in the gutter alone. So the Jewish man takes him to the hospital where the man dies, but the man leaves him all his belongings, which includes a car and $2,000 cash. Now, $2,000 cash in 1974 was a good bit of money. I looked it up. The average person made about $13,000 a year, so the writer's doing well. But in the possessions, he discovers a diary that this man wrote. And he discovers that he was a notorious heroin dealer who did many vile things. Along with this, you get a parallel story of the people who stabbed him and why they stabbed this drug dealer. And they're doing vile things. And it's a very bleak and grim novel. But it does end on a little bit of hope for humanity. The Jewish man does something that's sort of right. It was a fun crime novel. After that, I read Nick Carter, Assassination Brigade. This is book like 74 in a series of espionage novels. And Nick Carter is the American equivalent of a James Bond, but this is a sexy James Bond that has a lot of graphic sex. So not too graphic, but explicit sex scenes enough. That includes German blonde triplets who have trouble keeping their clothes on. And I was highly amused by these sisters and their insistence on getting naked around Nick Carter. There's also the plot, which involves strange people trying to assassinate world leaders through mind control. No, The assassins are mind control. They're not trying to get people assassinated through mind control, but a lot of fun. It's just an entertaining book. No redeeming qualities at all, but it is fun. Night of the Crabs by Guy N. Smith. Giant crabs come off the coast in Wales and eat people. That's it. You have atrociously bad writing. I mean, it's just badly written, but it's highly entertaining. I imagine Guy N. Smith getting drunk on some scotch wherever he was living, and then hammering out this story, just drunk as a lord and enjoying himself. Reportedly, this book was written in a week. It reads like it. I read this book in just a little over 2 hours. It's 144 pages, and you just inhale this book and not worry about all the plot defects and all the character defects and all the prose style defects and the clumsy attempts at writing sex defects. It's still a lot of fun. Lone Star on the Treachery Trail. This is the first in a series of naughty westerns. Now, a naughty western is just a western with lots of sex scenes thrown in. You have Jessie. She is the boss lady, and her hiree and friend is a man named Kai. He is half Japanese. He is a master of martial arts and throwing knives and shuriken. And they're going to help people out who are having trouble with cattle rustlers and people who want to take over their land. So here you have a plot about cattle rustling, but you're really reading it for the sex scenes because, he walks into a laundromat, we call a laundromat, or a woman who does laundry, and she just says, "Hey, you want to have sex?" And the guy goes, "Sure, I'll have sex with you." So they have sex. And then the lady gets her sexual companion. And then later on in the book, the man gets another sexual companion. That's about it. Kind of fun. To end it all off, I read The Organization Mad. Yeah, this is the William Gaines Mad magazine. And this is originally written between 54 and 57. Some of the humor is a little outdated, but some of it I kind of liked. There is some at the very end about falling for housing advertising, where you look at an ad for a house. The house costs $14,999. Damn, I'd buy a ton of homes if they only cost that much money. But it comes out in this saying, teaching these youths of the 1950s, don't trust advertising. They lie to you. That's actually a pretty darn good message to be telling their children of the 1950s. It's good for telling the children of the 2020s, don't fall for advertising. It's all a bunch of lies. And then you have another one about Walt Disney and how Disney was all about making money. That was the joke. All these Disney cartoons and movies, it's all about making money for Disney. Do you think that's true today for all the new Disney movies? I think this book from the 1950s got Disney sussed back then and sussed today. And that is my reading for week 13. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.